Just so you know, I will be talking a lot about manga today, while drawing of course. Well, hello there, I'm D3trois. I'm here to provide you with your weekly dose of mindless ink doodle. I would do it twice a week, but I don't have the time for more than 2 videos, and the Sunday video is for digital art. 2 good reasons to subscribe, mind you. As you can see already, this drawing is happening on one of the last pages of my sketchbook. I'm getting ahead of myself because there's about 10 empty pages left, but I'm very excited to be starting a new sketchbook after that. It's like a new arc in a story, you know? Like the Shippuden of Naruto, but about ink doodles. Like the Wano arc of One Piece, only this drawing has an end. I've been on a manga craze recently. Or rather, I just returned to it because I've been into manga ever since I discovered Naruto when I was in middle school. Or whatever the school is called when you're 8 or 9. I basically grew up with Naruto, being about the same age as him throughout the story, kind of. I was a bit emotional when the story ended, and ever since, Naruto remained my favorite manga. Quick note before I continue talking about manga, I really do mean manga. I am not talking about anime. I am a reader more than a viewer, and I will talk a bit about my relationship with anime later. But unless I precise it, I will be talking about manga. Let's start at the start. The first arc in my very own story, if you will. Naruto. I discovered Naruto when I was 8, from a school friend who was very much a weeb before the term was even a thing, I presume. I discovered the small black and white comics that for some reason were written right to left. The fight scenes were simply epic. I borrowed a few volumes off that friend to read. These volumes were not even the start, or in order. I told my parents about it and they decided to buy me my very first copy. It was volume 26, the epitome of the fight between Naruto and Sasuke at the Valley of the End. A while later, having probably read it 50 times, my parents bought me volumes 25 and 27, just because I had to know what happened before and after one of the best fights of the series. After that, I remember one day when my dad had found a pack of volumes from the French equivalent to Craigslist. These were volumes 1 through 4, ending after the fight with Zabuza, if I remember right. And that's probably when my parents figured out how long Naruto has been printing for, and that it wasn't even finished, and so the huge amount of money buying all volumes would entail. But that's alright. By this time I knew how to use the internet, and using the family computer I figured out how to find scans. I read everything. The entire story. And when I was done, I discovered that English scans released much earlier than French scans. So I started reading in English, even if my level wasn't great at the time. And when I was done with that and the only option left was wait, I read other mangas. All of that to say that Naruto was the start. The start of me very much loving manga, but also a great motivation to learn English from context with pictures. I read Bleach, I read Dragon Ball, even though I eventually dropped it after it was the second time the same characters died. I read GTO, Gamaran, Fairy Tail, Beelzebub, Shaman King, Assassination Classroom. I read a few sports manga too, like Kuroko no Basuke and Haikyuu, but more importantly I read all the shonen I could find on the Scan website. Except One Piece for some reason, but I've since read it multiple times. On the Scan website I also discovered the Chinese equivalent to manga, manhwa. It was pure hazard, with Fen Shen Ji at first, which I highly recommend to everybody, and Dong Qian Kun. But there were only a few dozen chapters, and at this point I was reading whenever I had access to the family computer, at a rate of maybe hundreds of chapters per week, and it wasn't enough. This is when I found out that Dong Qian Kun was originally a light novel, and I found the English versions, of course. We're already about 10 years after my first encounter with manga, and now I was mixing 2 passions of reading books and mangas, with light novels being like a written novel version of manga tropes and actions. Since then, I've written my own light novels, and I do consider myself somewhat of a writer. When I finally publish a fully fledged book in the future, you can technically bring it all back to manga and that first Naruto encounter when I was 8. Same with my English level, which now allows me to make these videos and eventually led to me being completely fluent in English. Along the years, I have devoured millions of words and black and white pictures of teenagers fighting with magical powers. I have also diversified the genres of manga I read. I still read shonen, like for example I keep up with One Piece regularly, and I have for about 5 years now. To be honest, I spent the last 5 hours and many more yesterday watching YouTube videos about One Piece theories by YouTubers O'Hara and Grand Light Review. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the genres. Reading proper books, one of my favorite authors is Stephen King, for his horror works. It, Bazaar, Cujo, Carrie, Salem, Pet Sematary, etc. etc. That translated very well into reading the works of Junji Ito, like Uzumaki. I also really enjoyed the dark story of Gantz, Berzerk, which still makes me sad it will never reach an end, and also shonen-like darker settings, like Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man, I have to say, has some of the best drawing style I've ever seen in manga. It's very clean when it needs to be, and very messy and dirty when needed. The symbolism and imagery in that manga is also top-notch. Now, more recently, starting at about 4 or 5 years ago, I also started watching anime a bit. I have always seen Naruto episodes or Dragon Ball episodes on TV here and there, but I didn't like it very much because it took too long to watch compared to reading the manga, and the drawings were awful compared to it. I still watched a few animes, like Dororo or 7 Deadly Sins and stuff like that, and these I haven't read in manga form. Some animes I'm glad I watched instead of read because the soundtracks and the pacing became most of it. From my all-time favorites I can cite Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop and Evangelion. By the way, I might or might not be teasing a video on Evangelion in the future. We'll see. Another incredible series I watched instead of reading is Devilman Crybaby. That anime blew my mind and I don't regret having discovered it through anime rather than manga. And then there are the others, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, which is really great, I don't care what you think. But that I kinda want to read as well as watch, but at the same time the anime is so good that I don't know if the old drawings will match. On the same vein, Jujutsu Kaisen, an incredible anime and probably an incredible manga. Since the beginnings of animes, the mangas have always been higher in drawing quality, but nowadays the animation studios are really good at it, and it's hard to say which looks better. Everybody is talking about Demon Slayer these days, and people are amazed at its animation. I have only seen season 1 and the film so far, by the way. It is really good animation, and that in and of itself makes me question if reading the manga is worth it. When I have the time, I suppose I'll try reading all these in manga form. The only downside is that when I start reading a new manga, you can basically expect me to be useless until I'm done with it, no matter how many hours or day it takes. And I usually don't have all this time on my hands, which is also why I usually prefer mangas to anime. If I were to watch One Piece, it would take months to catch up, whereas I can read the whole thing in maybe 4 days if I'm feeling bored enough. Anyway, I really wanted to talk about manga and thank them for bringing me where I am today. Turning me into a weeb, I guess, but also a writer and a part-time French to English translator. I'm really curious, what is your favorite manga? And what anime do you think are better than their original manga versions? Which ones should I get into next? Tell me all of that in the comments. That's not even for the algorithm, I am generally gonna read and or watch all of it. Like the video if you enjoyed this drawing and this amicable chat, and subscribe for weekly art videos and random podcast episodes like this. You can find more art on my Instagram and my Twitter, which are linked in the description. Also linked is my very own Chinese-inspired light novel you can read for free, even though I haven't published a new chapter for a while. I'm D3trois, and I'm about to open the 5th gate to take down Gara. Bye!